Told me to stop calling him, so I did, but not the way he expected. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why some silences aren't peaceful. They're tactical. I raised him. I protected him. Then I found out what he did with that trust. They thought I wouldn't notice, that I'd stay quiet, that mothers don't fight back. Thank you for being here. Have you ever done everything right only to be told you were too much? Leave a comment below, even just one word. Where are you watching from, or what time is it right now? And if quiet, powerful stories speak to you, don't forget to subscribe for more. This is my story, and it's not what you think. Mom, stop calling me, you're too much lately. He didn't even say goodbye. The line went dead like a switch flipped, sudden and surgical. For a second, I held the phone to my ear, thinking, maybe I misheard, maybe it cut out, maybe there was more, there wasn't. Just the dull hum of silence, not just from the phone, but from the whole room, from the house, from my chest. I lowered the phone slowly like it was made of glass, as if any sudden movement would shatter something in me. My hand trembled slightly. I wasn't sure if it was from hurt or rage or something older and harder to name. I had waited 3 days for him to call back. 3 days since I last left a voicemail. Just wanted to hear your voice, I said on the message, and tell you the robins are back, nesting under the porch roof again. I thought he'd smile at that. He used to run out barefoot every spring to see them. He'd name them all. Robin Hood, Queen Beak, Fluffers. He'd watch them with that round-eyed 5-year-old reverence only children and saints seem to have. But now he doesn't have time for birds. Or for me. The kettle began to scream from the stove, a sharp, impatient whistle that snapped through the silence. I didn't move. It kept going, shrill, demanding, alive. Unlike this house, I finally stood, not because I needed tea anymore, but because I needed the noise to stop. I turned off the burner and lifted the kettle, the steam fogging my glasses. My fingers curled tighter around the handle than necessary. The cup I poured into had a faded crackle glaze and a small chip at the rim. It was his favourite when he was little. Mom's mug, it used to say. The letters had worn off long ago. Now it was just a blank ceramic shell, like everything else. I sat down with the cup in my hands and stared at the kitchen wall. The clock ticked once, twice, 3 times, then stopped. I didn't realise the batteries had died. Or maybe I had. There's a journal I keep in the drawer by the fridge. I pulled it out and flipped to the back pages. Not for poems, not for thoughts, just for dates. I added another one with my pen. March 2nd, Ethan told me not to call. I paused, then added, ever again. Then I sat there breathing, not crying. Not yet. There would be time for that. Later, I opened the freezer and placed my phone inside, beside the frozen peas and a half-eaten box of waffles. Not because I was losing it, but because I needed to stop waiting for it to ring. Because that small sound, that hope in my chest, was the real poison. And silence, at least, is honest. You said you'd come by this weekend. Things got busy. I told you, don't make a big deal. He said that last month, and the one before. And so I baked the pie anyway, Ethan's favourite cherry with the messy lattice crust he used to help me braid when his hands were still sticky from jelly sandwiches and Play-Doh. I even remembered the cinnamon sprinkle he always insisted on. It sat on the kitchen counter for 4 hours, untouched. The house smelled like memory and burnt sugar. When it cooled, I wrapped it in foil and left it by the back door. Maybe a neighbour would take it. Maybe no one would. The mailbox was empty again. No birthday card from him. My birthday was 2 days ago. Not that I expected anything, except I did, and I hate myself for it. Instead, there was a digital invitation to his daughter's school fundraiser. Not addressed to me directly, just a mass BCC. I clicked on the link, stared at the RSVP button, then closed the browser. What would I wear? What would I say? Hi, I'm Ethan's mom. I used to be allowed to call him. The photo on the wall caught my eye as I walked past the hallway. It's the old one framed, the 3 of us. Ethan, 5 years old, perched on my shoulders. Me and Daniel, his father, holding hands. A family frozen in time, cheeks sunburned, eyes wide. I took it down. I tried not to look at our faces as I slid the photo from the frame. The glass nicked my thumb. A thin red line rose, slow and delicate. I stood at the kitchen sink and let it bleed into a napkin. No drama. Just red on white. Later that night, I opened my closet and pulled down a box labelled keepsakes. Inside, Ethan's hospital bracelet, his third-grade drawing of a house with the words "Home Inch Mom," a faded ticket to his college graduation, a letter he wrote in high school, "You're the best mom in the universe." I read it twice. The handwriting slanted left, hurried, honest. I folded it back and whispered, "What happened to him?" And then a darker thought. What happened to me? That night, I dreamed of the robins again. Only this time their nest had fallen, scattered straw, cracked blue eggs, feathers everywhere. One bird flapped weakly, dragging a bent wing. I woke with my heart pounding, the pillow damp. It wasn't the dream. It was the way I knew what it meant. The next morning, I boiled water and made tea. Same kettle, same chipped mug. I didn't text Ethan. I didn't call. I sat at the table and looked out the window where the porch light caught the rim of a small nest in the gutter, rocking in the wind. Then I opened the drawer and added to the journal. March 5th, pie untouched, no word. The nest is starting to fall apart, but something was forming. A shape beneath the grief, a restlessness like the silence had begun to rot. Like maybe it was time to make noise. The bank smelled like lemon floor polish and cold calculations. I hadn't been inside in over a year. Everything looked shinier, somehow newer, like even time had moved on without me. The young woman at the front desk smiled tightly. "Do you have an appointment, ma'am?" "No," I said, "but I have a trust account I'd like to discuss." She typed quickly. "Name?" "Elena Grayson. I'm the grantor." The screen blinked. Her smile faltered. "One moment," she said, then disappeared down the hallway like a ripple vanishing under ice. 10 minutes later, I was seated in a glass-walled office with a man in a blue suit named Connor. He shook my hand like he expected me to be fragile. I didn't grip back. "So," he said, smiling with his teeth but not his eyes, "what can we help you with today?" "I'd like to review the current status of the Grayson family trust." He hesitated. "Of course. I believe your son Ethan is the acting beneficiary, correct?" "I'm aware," I said, "but I'm still the primary grantor. I want to see all activity from the last 18 months. Connor blinked. "That's not standard protocol without prior notice." "Then consider this notice." The printer hummed to life. As he gathered the pages, I noticed a tremor in his fingers. That told me more than anything on paper. The printout was thick, dozens of transactions, names I didn't recognize. LLC payments, business accounts, transfers to a digital marketing firm in Nevada. I pointed. "What's this?" He cleared his throat. "Mr. Grayson authorized a strategic investment portfolio." I didn't. "I'm sorry. I never approved that. I never signed off on external use of principal funds." He shifted in his chair. I flipped the signature page and there it was. My name, but not my hand. The E curved differently. The L too clean. Someone had mimicked me. Someone who knew how I wrote. Outside, I sat in my car, engine off, windows up. The signature stared at me from my lap, closed but not mine. I drove home in silence. No radio, no thoughts, just noise inside my chest. In the kitchen, I didn't take off my coat. I poured a glass of water and drank it in one breath. Then I opened the drawer and wrote, March 7th. He used my name, my money, without asking. That night, I checked my email. Most of Ethan's messages I hadn't read, but one caught my eye. Not from him, sent to his wife. By mistake, or maybe he forgot to remove me from the CC. It read, "If she pushes, we'll claim confusion, play the aging parent angle. She won't want the embarrassment." No greeting, no hesitation, no shame. I didn't delete it. I printed it. I sat with it in my lap, breathing slowly until the feeling rose in me like smoke from a controlled burn. Not fire, not yet, but heat. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I picked up a pen. Under my last journal entry, I wrote, March 7th, they forgot who I was before I was his mother. That night I began a letter, not typed, ink on paper, real, permanent. The first word, Dear Ethan, too polite. I crossed it out. Just Ethan, still too soft. Eventually I left the salutation blank. I wrote about the nest, how the wind had taken one of the eggs, how a blue shell cracked on the porch tiles like a dropped ornament. I wrote about when he was 5 and cried if I left the room for 5 minutes. I wrote that pretending not to notice his distance had become a form of self-harm. And then I wrote the sentence that shook the pen in my hand. You didn't just take money. You took my name, my trust, and you used them like tools. By the time I finished, the letter was 3 pages long. Angry but not cruel, honest but not desperate. I folded it, slipped it into an envelope, and placed it in the drawer with all the other unsent letters. His wedding, his move, his command that I stop visiting unannounced. A pile of silences, written proof of a voice I wasn't allowed to use. The next morning, I woke early. No alarm, just certainty. I made tea, opened the window. The cold air bit at my skin. I didn't cry. That part of me had calcified into something else, something harder, something like purpose. I called my attorney. Not Daniel's firm. Someone new, fresh eyes, a woman named Melissa, younger than Ethan, with a voice that clipped through doubt. "Do you believe your son forged your name?" she asked. "Yes." "Do you have proof?" "Enough to start." We scheduled a meeting for Tuesday. I circled it in my journal. March 11th, legal review, 2 p.m. Beneath it I wrote, "They miscalculated. I'm still here." That night I studied the trust with a magnifying glass, page by page, clause by clause, until I found Daniel's line, the one he'd insisted on before he died. All modifications must be approved by the grantor in writing, witnessed, and notarized. Daniel had protected me, even from our son. Later, an email from Ethan. "Hey Mom, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay. Let's talk soon." No mention of the bank. No mention of the forgery, just hollow words tossed like breadcrumbs. I didn't reply. I printed the email, stapled it to the trust documents, and wrote, "March 11th. He's trying to soften me. I won't be softened. It's not revenge. It's remembering who I was before guilt became my religion."